Each year on November 11th, a day is set aside as a federal holiday to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. As a tribute to all veterans who served and who continue to serve our country, Tellico Village Network would like to take this opportunity to thank them and their families who sacrificed along with them by providing our viewers with a short historical perspective on how Veterans Day came about and why this day is an important one for our country. Veterans Day, first known as Armistice Day, had its beginnings after World War I. In 1914, Europe was a tinderbox of countries and principalities longing to show their military might to the world. While agreements between European alliances had existed for years, political instability in the region threatened to destroy those agreements. When Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was assassinated on June 28, 1914, by a Serbian patriot, triggering the invasion of Serbia by Austria, the war began. As tensions continued, Germany entered the battle and began attacking passenger and merchant ships in 1917. The U.S. could no longer remain neutral, declared war, and joined the fighting in April of 1917. The war lasted over 4 years, finally ending with Germany signing an armistice agreement, which was an agreement for peace, with the Allies on November 11, 1918. The following year, on June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed between Germany and the victorious Allies. This formalized and laid out the terms of the earlier Armistice Agreement and outlined conditions for peace between Germany and the Allies, led by the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. That same year, in November 1919, shortly after the Treaty of Versailles, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November 11th as Armistice Day. It was called Armistice Day because November 11th was the day an armistice, or end to hostilities and laying down of arms, occurred between the Allied forces and Germany. In 1938, legislation was passed by Congress to make Armistice Day an official federal holiday to honor the end of World War I. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler's rise to power and determination to build a Third Reich led to the invasion of Poland, and the Second World War began. Lasting 6 years, the war came to an end on September 2nd, 1945, with the surrender of Japan. Prior to World War II, November 11th was called Armistice Day in the U.S., France, and Great Britain, and was a day to honor veterans who had fought bravely in World War I, many sacrificing their lives. After World War II, it became a holiday to honor veterans of both wars. When World War I ended, over 100,000 American soldiers had died, and approximately 5 million veterans returned home. Today, over 100 years later, there are no surviving vets from this war. Fighting in World War II left over 400,000 American soldiers dead, while approximately 15 million veterans returned home. It is estimated that around 325,000 are still alive today and will be honored on Veterans Day. The Korean War followed on June 25, 1950, when Communist North Korea invaded South Korea, an American ally. This war lasted over 3 years, finally ending on June 27, 1953, with a truce. Officially, the war has not ended, as there has not been a peace treaty negotiated with North Korea. The North Korean conflict left nearly 40,000 American soldiers dead, with approximately 2 million returning home. Around 600,000 Korean War veterans are still with us this Veterans Day. Shortly after the Korean War ended, Congress passed legislation in 1954, striking the word armistice and replacing it with the word veteran, to officially make November 11th Veterans Day. On October 8, 1954, President Eisenhower sent a letter to Harvey V. Higley, Administrator of the Department of Veterans Affairs, appointing him as chair of the Veterans Day Committee with a charge to coordinate and promote the widespread observance of this special day. We have continued the observance yearly as an honor to those who served. Since then, the United States has entered additional conflicts, beginning with Vietnam in 1965. This controversial war lasted about 8 years, ending with the signing of a peace agreement in Paris on January 27, 1973. Over 58,000 U.S. soldiers died in Vietnam, and more than 1,200 are still missing. Vietnam produced 9.2 million veterans. Approximately 9 million are still alive today. The Iraq and Afghan wars began in 2001 and lasted until our departure in August of 2021. More than 7,000 soldiers were killed during these conflicts, and approximately 4 million veterans returned back to U.S. soil. Most of them are still living today. Although Veterans Day and earlier Armistice Day have gone through some changes of name and date, the purpose has always been the same: to honor those brave men and women from all walks of life, regions of the country, races, and religions who courageously served our country in the United States military, some giving the ultimate sacrifice of their lives. On Veterans Day, we take the time to honor our living veterans among us and to memorialize those who have gone before us. Remember back to World War I, when war raged across Europe. A young Canadian brigade surgeon, Lieutenant Colonel John McRae, wrote the wartime poem In Flanders Field in 1915, describing the blood-red poppy fields that flourished on the rubble fields of war. To memorialize soldiers who fought and died during World War I in the early 1920s, the poppy became the national symbol of Armistice Day, and then the official flower of the American Legion and the VFW. The poem recalls those who died in serving their country in that war, yet passes the torch to those who come after. Take a moment on November 11th to honor these great servant leaders who have given so much to protect our freedoms.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard among the guns below. We are dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from fallen hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.